Hello, and thank you for listening to Just a Random Christian. Today we're going to be talking about the phrase, love me for who I am. This is something that people will say a lot, especially non-Christians will say, you just got to love me for who I am. And as I've been thinking about this phrase, I've started to wonder, is that actually what people want? And I'm going to argue today that no, that's not what people actually want. And that I think what they actually want is unconditional love. Yes, many people have sins that they don't want to give up, and they want you to be permissive of those sins. I recognize that. But I think most people realize that they're not perfect, that they have flaws. And we see this in media as well. This isn't just something that I'm saying. I think there are examples of this. This episode will be a little bit more anecdotal, but I think there is good reason to say the things that I'm saying. So, again, we see this in media. For example, if you're watching a movie and you see, a friendship that's torn apart because of some mistake that somebody made, somebody messed up, they don't come back and say, hey, you gotta love me for who I am. That mistake that I made, that's who I am. You gotta love me anyway. They don't want the person to love them for who they are. What they actually want is forgiveness and the ability to move on and go back to being friends again. So if you think about your best friends, the people that you're closest to, why are you so close? Probably it's because, you feel safe around them, at least partly. That's I think partly what friendship is built on. You feel safe around them. And it's not just that they love you. You also know, or trust anyway, that they won't end the relationship if you do something stupid or you say the wrong thing. Because we all do that. We all make mistakes. We all say something stupid, something that we shouldn't have done. And those people that we're closest to, we have this sense of safety knowing that they're not just gonna blow up at us and never forgive us if one of those things happens. So really, you're trusting that they will forgive you and that you'll move on. I think that's something that people really long for. I think people want to feel safe in the love of another. They want to know that no matter what happens, they're not going to be rejected, even if they make mistakes. Now, some in the love me for who I am crowd might not actually see any flaws in themselves. I'm guessing that most people do, but there may be some out there. But even these people would realize that other people have flaws at the very least. That the love me for who I am phrase doesn't apply to everyone. Certain actions are bad and require forgiveness, and I think pretty much everybody recognizes that. But people do want to be seen and loved despite the bad things that they do. Or at the very least, they want that for other people. And again, I think most people, except, the biggest narcissists out there, recognize that they do make mistakes. They may want people to accept certain sins, right? But I think they recognize that they're not perfect in every area. There are some things that they don't want you to just love me or love them for who they are. They want you to forgive them and to look past things that they do wrong. I think they want unconditional love. They want to know that if they make mistakes, that they'll be forgiven and truly loved despite their mistakes. And obviously, this is exactly what God does with us. I think one of the clearest examples of this is the story of the prodigal son. The son doesn't return to the father saying, well, that's who I am. I am this, rebel child. I'm going to do what I want. You got to love me for who I am. If that were the story, that would be very uninspiring. I think most people would hate it because they know that's unjust. And I think whether you're a Christian or a non-Christian, I think you would recognize that and say, that's not right. The father shouldn't just love the son because of for who he is, because he's made mistakes. He's fallen and he's messed up. The son isn't loved for who he is. The father loves the son because he does. And there's no resentment or hesitation or conditions to that love. It's true, unconditional love. And I also want to stress that this is not, God isn't there saying, oh, son, I love you no matter what. It's great to see you. It's great to have you back. That kind of stale, I love you verbally, but really mostly just with words. This is not that. This is running out the door, full on embrace, tears of joy streaming down the father's face. This is unmitigated, unconditional love. And it's love towards a person who's dirty and sinful, and clearly dirty and sinful. Someone who has wronged the Father deeply. And yet, the Father loves the Son so much that everything is fully forgiven before the Father even opened the door to run to the Son. I think if people are honest, they recognize that this is a far more beautiful thing than just love me for who I am. They don't really want to be loved for who they are because they know that they're flawed. Now again, there may be things that they want to hold on to. There may be sins that they want to hold on to. And they may not recognize that those things are sins. They may not recognize that those things are flaws. But they do recognize in other areas that they're not perfect. And what they really want and really crave is unconditional love. The type of unconditional love that our God offers. So what do we do with this? Well, first of all, we as Christians, we have to live this truth. So often we feel like the prodigal son with our head down, thinking, maybe we can be the servant, look how terrible I am. I've messed this up. Maybe I can just be the servant. And that's not how we should live. We live with a God who loves us more than we can possibly imagine. While we're out here harping on our sin, God's running out the door to embrace you. Sin still matters, of course, but many of us have a tendency to forget just how incredible God's love is. And second, I think everyone longs for this type of unconditional love. both Christians and non-Christians. I think we should encourage our brothers and sisters in Christ, knowing that we do experience this love. And I think this is an evangelism tool as well. If non-Christians are looking for unconditional love, you, as a Christian, you know where they can find it. If people say, love me for who I am, we have a way to redirect that conversation. We have something better than that in God's love. And if they're being honest, I think that's what they truly want deep down. We don't want to be loved for who we are because we know we're flawed. Really, we want to be loved regardless of our flaws. Regardless of whether we're doing the right things or not, to know that we are still going to be loved, regardless of what we do. Some people may want to hold on to various sins, but most of us long for the unconditional love that God offers us. Well, that's all for today. Thanks for listening to Just a Random Christian. If you liked what you heard, let me know by giving it a like and following the channel. And tune in next time where we'll talk about modesty for men. Why don't we ever talk about male modesty and what does it even look like? I hope you'll tune in for that, and I hope you have a blessed day.